If you're new to MiniZ, then you've probably gone through a similar experience to what I did when I got my first car. You know, I opened this thing up and it's got all these extra parts and pieces, and I didn't really know what they did, but I felt stupid just throwing them away. So they just ended up sitting in a box somewhere and I never really did anything with them. So what we're gonna do today is I went ahead and got a brand new MiniZ, and I'm gonna open it up and we're just gonna go through it step by step. And I'm gonna show you what each of those parts is and what they're for, and then you can decide whether or not you wanna throw them away. So let's get this thing opened up and I'll show you what I've got. What I have here is the LM, which is, these are a little bit longer. And I'll tell you, I had the hardest time figuring out how to know exactly what type of MiniZ I'm getting, because they have, you know, some of the different types, whether it's narrow or longer or whatever. And the only way to find out, because they don't put it on the front of the box, is you have to look at the UPC code on the bottom, and that'll tell you exactly what type of car you're getting. So if there's something specific you want to get, that's how you can tell. So let's get this thing opened. I went with the white car just because I have a hard time seeing the darker ones on the track. They have a really awesome looking black one, but I can't see it. So that's why I went with this one. But that's your LM body, super cool. In there. All right, so get there. Okay. Next car. First thing is you get this big manual. I always keep it, but let's be honest, when I have a question, I go to YouTube, so I'm just gonna throw it away. And then, this is the box of fun that you get. First thing you're gonna see is this. It's got these cute little cones in there, and these are exactly what you'd think. You can use them for decoration, you can use them to take pictures, or you can set up a little obstacle course if you're gonna drive the MiniZ in your house. Otherwise, yeah, I've never really used those. The first tool you're gonna see is this one. It's just a little hex driver. And so this is what you can use to change the tires on your car if you want. There you go, it fits right on there just perfectly. If we're being honest, you don't want to use this. Just go get some decent tools. I mean, this is nice when you get it right out of the box if you want to run it in the house. But if you're planning on doing any real work, this is something that, you know, I've never actually used this thing. Next thing we have is the radio, which, whew, if you don't know what this is for, then you're really watching the wrong video. But yeah, that's in there. The other tool you're going to get is this mystery little stick that Kyosho always puts in the box. And what this actually is a pairing stick. Now, your car is going to come already pre-bound to the radio, but in the event that you need to bind it to a different radio, or you want to reset the ESC or whatever, supposedly this will help you hit the button and make that happen. What I used to use it for before I got a battery popper is I used to use it to push the batteries out of the bottom. But if you're going to be doing this for any amount of time, you're going to want to get a real battery popper, because they just make things easier and they're not that expensive. But you probably want to keep this around just in case you need it to reset your ESC or whatever. I've never actually used it other than popping batteries out. The next piece you're going to find in the box are these pinion gears. So with your car as it comes stock, it's going to have a 6-tooth pinion gear in there, but they also give you a 7, an 8, and a 9. And every time you go up a number, that's going to make your car faster, but take away acceleration. So this is a way that you can mess with the tuning on your car. And to go with that, you're going to get these shims. And basically, once you change your pinion on your car, you're going to need to adjust where the motor is to make sure you get your gear mesh right. And the way you're going to do that is you're going to use these little shims, and what happens is you change them out based on what size pinion you've got. And they're going to have little numbers on there. So this is, if I have a 7-tooth pinion, I want this one, and a 9-tooth pinion for this one, etc. And what you're going to do is just place those over your motor, like so. When you place it back in the motor mount, and that'll make sure that you get your proper gear mesh. So these you definitely want to hold on to. And then you have this little pinion gear tool. This thing's pretty sweet, because when you change your pinion, it's not really held on by anything. You're just going to wedge it off. So what this does is when you go to change your pinion gear, you can sneak that in there and just wedge it off nice and easy. So that comes in really handy, or at least I think so. The next pieces we're going to look at are the lower arm, the upper arm, and the tie rod. And these three pieces are all just a little bit narrower than what's going to come stock on your car. And so if you use these, you're going to be changing the way your car handles. So if you decide to put those on your car, you're going to want to make sure that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you may change the way your car drives in ways that you don't want it to. And I'm going to take the body off real quick just so you can see what I mean by these being just a little bit narrower. So you can see with your tie rod, if you put that over where the original goes, you can see it's just a little bit narrower. So it's going to change how your car handles. And then of course on this one up front, again, just a tiniest bit narrower. And there you go, same thing. So those are all nice little tuning adjustments that you get with your car. So whether you want to keep those or buy aftermarket or aluminum parts is up to you. The next piece we'll look at are the wheel nuts. So Kyosho is nice enough to add a couple of extra wheel nuts. We've all had that horrifying moment when you hear a tiny screw or a wheel nut hit the floor and you have no idea where it went, and you know you're going to spend the next 25 minutes searching for it. So Kyosho was nice enough to add a couple spares to make sure that you can get your wheels back on. Then we get to this one tiny screw that they put in this little baggie. And this is just a replacement screw. So you've got a screw here on the rear pod, and if you happen to lose that, here's your replacement. So that's all that is. And the last part that I got in this LM kit is this little damper stay. So you've got this rear damper on your suspension, the rear suspension there, right? And so this is just another one of those little tuning parts. It's just a little bit different than the one that's on there already. So again, if you're going to use that, make sure that you know what you're trying to accomplish. But so yeah, that's just another damper stay. You can decide how much value that has for you. That is everything that I got in the box with my new LM MiniZ. Now, keep in mind that if you got a different model like the traditional ReadySet or the narrow version or an all-wheel drive, you might get a couple of different parts, but it's pretty much the same across the different models. And if you want my opinion, the only things that you get in the box that are really of any value are these pinion gears and the pinion shims. Now, obviously, these are super valuable because if you're going to change pinion gears, you have to put in the shim or else the motor's just not going to sit right. So these are definitely valuable and you're going to want to hang on to these. And then the other thing that you get that I think has some value is the little pinion tool. Because, you know, that pinion gear can get stuck sometimes. It's a little tricky just to pull it off of there. So it's nice to have this little lever to help you get it off there a little bit more easily. So that's also something I would make sure to keep. But outside of that, it's really up to you. For me, with any of the other adjustment parts, if I'm going to use one of those, I'm actually just going to get, you know, an aluminum version at my track hobby shop. Or, you know, I'm going to get something that's more durable that I can count on. Whether you decide to keep them or throw them away, it really doesn't matter. But at least now you know exactly what they do, so you can make your own decision. And that should give you a lot more peace of mind while you're driving your MiniZ.